The video I have for you all today is hands down my favorite moment that I've ever read or seen between Darth Vader and Darth Sidious. Maybe it's just recency bias as I read it today, but I genuinely love this interaction between Master and Apprentice. It's a much different, much more vulnerable look than we ever really get between the two, and it is a deep dive into the both of them. I love it. It's Vader as he's discussing the dark side, angry at where the Force has led him, and he begins to lash out at his master, even confronting him about things like Padme, for instance. And the way they talk, it's just so true to their characters. It's in the book Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader, and for some quick background, Vader is back in the medical facility on Coruscant for the first time since being put in the suit. He's repairing his damaged arm, and the two, Master and Apprentice, discuss a lot of things. So let's begin, but please do leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, what's your favorite moment between Vader and Sidious? For me, it's probably this one. There are other candidates, but maybe you'll see why I love it so much as we begin to read here. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Palpatine sat in the center chair in the medical facility, hands on his knees, the lights of Coruscant blazing behind him through a long arc of fixed windows. The cowl of his heavy robe was lowered, and the blinking telltales of an array of devices and control panels lit his deeply creased face. The face he kept concealed from his advisors and senatorial guests. For he was not simply Emperor Palpatine, he was Darth Sidious, Dark Lord of the Sith when he was here. On the far side of thick panels of transparent steel that separated the antechamber from rib-walled operating theater, Vader sat on the edge of the surgical table, on which he had been recalled to life and transformed. His flaring black helmet had been lifted from his head by servos that extended from the laboratory's ceiling, revealing the pasty complexion of his synth-flesh face and the raised wounds on his head that may never fully heal. The medical droids responsible for repairing what had remained of Vader's amputated limbs and incinerated body, some of which had observed and participated in the cyborg transformation of General Grievous a decade earlier, had been reduced to scrap by a scream that had torn from Vader's scorched throat on his learning of his wife's death. Now a 2-1B droid, responding to Vader's voiced instructions, was tending to an injury on Vader's left arm, the cause of which he had yet to explain. "The last time you were in this facility, you were in no condition to supervise your own convalescence, Lord Vader," Sidious said, his words transmitted to the pressurized laboratory by the antechamber's sensitive enunciators. "And I will remain ward of myself from this point forward," Vader said through the intercom system. "Ward of yourself," Sidious repeated in an exacting tone. "When it comes to overseeing modifications of this shell, Master," Vader clarified. "Ah, as it should be," Palpatine said. The human form 2-1B was in the midst of executing Vader's instructions when sparks geysered from Vader's left forearm, and blue electricity began to go across his chest. With an infuriated growl, Vader lifted the injured arm, hurling the Medroid halfway across the laboratory. "Useless machine," Vader shouted. "Useless, useless." Sidious watched his apprentice with rising concern. "What is troubling you, my son? I'm aware of the suit's limitations, and of the exasperation you must be experiencing, but anger is wasted on the droid. You must reserve your rage for times when you can profit from it." He appraised Vader again. "I think I begin to understand the cause of your frustration. Your rage owes little to the suit or the droid's ineptitude. Something disturbing occurred on Mercana, occurrence you have elected to keep from me, Lord Vader. For your good or mine, I wonder." Vader took a long moment to reply. "Master, I found the 3 Jedi who escaped Order 66. "And what of it?" Palpatine replied. "The damage to my arm was done by one of them, though she is now dead by my blade." "And the other 2? Sidious asked. "They eluded me." Vader lifted his scarred face to regard Sidious. "But they wouldn't have if this suit didn't restrict me to the point of immobility. If the Star Destroyer you placed at my command was properly equipped. If Sinar had completed work on the starfighter I designed. Sidious waited until Vader was finished, then stood up and walked to within a meter of the room's transparisteel panels. So, my young apprentice, 2 Jedi slip through your grasp, and you scatter the blame like leaves blown about by a storm. Master, if you had been there, keep still, Sidious interrupted, before you damage yourself all the more. He gave Vader a moment to compose himself. First, let me reiterate that the Jedi mean nothing to us. In having survived, Yoda and Obi-Wan aren't exceptions to the rule. I'm certain that dozens of Jedi escape with their lives, and in due time, you will have the pleasure of killing many of them. But of greater import is the fact that their order has been crushed. Finished, Lord Vader. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Master, Vader muttered. In burying their heads in the sands and the snows of remote worlds, the surviving Jedi humbled themselves before the Sith. So let them atone for 1,000 years of arrogance and self-absorption. Sidious watched Vader, displeased. Once more your thoughts betray you. I see that you are not yet fully convinced. Glancing at him, Vader gestured to his face and black-cloaked body, then gestured in similar fashion to Sidious. Look at us. Are these the faces of victory? Sidious was careful to keep himself from becoming too angry or too sickened by his pupil's self-pity. We are not this crude stuff, Lord Vader. Have you not heard that before? Yes, Vader said. Yes, I've heard it before. Too often. But from me, you will learn the truth of it, Sidious replied, and Vader lifted his face. In the same way you told me the truth about being able to save Padme? Sidious was not taken aback. For the past month, he had been expecting to hear just an accusation from Vader. I had nothing to do with Padme Amidala's death. She died as a result of your anger at her betrayal, my young apprentice. Vader looked to the floor. You're right, Master. I brought about the very thing I feared for her. I am to blame. Sidious adopted a more compassionate tone. Sometimes the Force has other plans for us, my son. Fortunately, I arrived at Mustafar just in time to save you. Save me, Vader said without emotion. Yes, of course you did, Master, and I suppose I should be grateful. He got up from the table and walked to the panel to place himself opposite Sidious. But what good is power without reward? What good is power without joy? Sidious didn't move. Eventually, Lord Vader, you will come to see that power is joy. The path to the dark side is not without terrible risk, but it is the only path worth following. It matters not how we appear in any case, or who is sacrificed along the way. We have won, and the galaxy is ours. And Vader's eyes searched Sidious's face. Did you promise as much to Count Dooku? Sidious bared his teeth, but only briefly. Darth Tyrannus knew what he risked, Lord Vader. If he had been stronger in the dark side, you would be dead, and he would be my right hand. And if you should encounter someone stronger than I am? Sidious almost smiled. There is none, my son. Even though your body has been crippled, this is your destiny. We have seen to that. Together, we are unconquerable. I wasn't strong enough to defeat Obi-Wan, Vader said, and Sidious had enough. No, you weren't, he said, so just imagine what Yoda might have done to you. He flung his words with brutal honesty. Obi-Wan triumphed because he went to Mustafar with a single intention, to kill Darth Vader. If the Jedi Order had showed so much resolute intention, if it had remained focused on what needed to be done, rather than on fears of the dark side, it might have proved more difficult to topple and eradicate. You and I might have lost everything. Do you understand? Vader looked at him, breathing deeply. Then I suppose I should be grateful, for what little I have been able to hold on to. Yes, Sidious said, you should. And that's where it ends today. I love this dialogue between Vader and Sidious. I hope I was able to do it justice for all of you. Let me know what you thought. It was, I hope it was good. The part at the end where he says, did you promise as much to Dooku, that I'm your guy, I'm your right-hand man, I'm your apprentice, you'll never betray me. And Sidious was like, well, yeah, but then he kind of failed. And then Vader asked, what if there's someone more powerful? And Sidious said there is no one. Of course, Luke eventually comes along, and what does Sidious do? Tries to throw away Vader for Luke. And when he calls out Sidious for not helping with Padme, Vader was right when he said that it was completely his fault. Sidious had nothing to do with Padme's death. There are conspiracies that maybe he did something at the end, but no, he really had nothing to do with Padme's death, except for, of course, helping turn Anakin to the dark side. So, from a certain point of view, maybe it was his fault. But overall, Vader right here is just in self-pity. He's angry. He's trying to throw blame elsewhere for what happened. At one point, he says, if this suit, if my Star Destroyer, if my ship, if this, if that. Yeah, just throwing blame all around, and Palpatine Sidious is pissed about it. So, let me know what you thought. I loved reading this. I hope you did enjoy. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.